watching Teach Me AI with host Nick Niehaus.
Welcome to Teach Me AI, the show where my friends teach me how to use their favorite AI tools, and you get to learn along with me. On today's episode, I'm talking to Jeff Ross, and he's going to be showing us how to have a conversation. Yes, that's going to be chatting with our voices back and forth with ChatGPT to develop a brand identity and voice, especially if you have a new business. This is an incredibly impactful technique, and you're definitely going to want to see this conversation, so stick around. Hey, Jeff, thank you so much for joining me today.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me here, Nick. Blessing.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to it. So let's get into it. What are you going to be teaching me how to do with it today?
Yeah, great questions. I was been thinking about this before we jumped on our call, and I think the way I could serve your audience in the best possible way is to teach them how to really leverage this voice prompting conversational AI, I call it.
Ooh,
basically,
okay.
Sitting down, having a two-way conversation with good old Chatty. I like to call it Chatty. I struggle with the whole ChatGPT.
I like Chatty better. No, it's definitely better.
So having a conversation with Chatty, and Chatty for me is it's my mate, it's my personal assistant, it's my marketing coach, it's my business planner, it's everything else in between. And wow. I just learned how to just have a really good conversation with it. And today I'd like to talk about personal branding. Okay. And personal branding elements of the fundamentals that we develop a brand from, right? And when we talk about branding, when we first get into this game, most of us think that we need logos, websites, colors, fonts. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about like the mission statement, the vision statement, the core values that you can develop your identity. Because a personal brand essentially represents... Your personal brand is the story people say about you when you're not in the room. So so if you don't have a story, like if you don't have a brand, then that story is going to get made up. It's going to cause a vacuum, right?
Sure.
So if we can articulate the story that we want to put out there, that we want others to tell us about when they're not in the room, then we need to put our best foot forward, and that's how we show up. And our mission and our vision and becoming mission-centered, it helps us to change the way we think about things. It changes our feelings. It changes our actions and our results. So it comes more heart-centered and mission-driven. So I'd like to just dive in and just... a lot of people struggle with how do they come up with these elements. And especially when you're talking to mums and dads and side hustlers and people who haven't got marketing degrees or business degrees, and there are a lot of people out there now in this online sphere, Nick, jumping into the whole online marketing arena to make a few extra $100 a month, a few extra $1,000 a month. And AI has been a very powerful tool for our community to be able to really help them to position themselves as a personal brand. Essentially, what I'm saying is become a person of influence and win friends. And so AI has helped to really lower the barrier to entry to get up and run a lot faster, right? And so, yeah, I'm just on a mission to be able to help frustrated affiliate marketers to learn how to leverage this awesome online marketing world to be able to help them position as people of influence.
Love that. Yeah, definitely a big need at the moment, I think. So, cool. I'm excited to see you have an actual conversation, right? Because as you mentioned, a lot of folks are so focused on writing the perfect prompt. But yeah, we can just talk to it nowadays. So, yeah, let's see where we can go with this.
Yeah, so just to give some frameworks around prompting, and that is a hang-up for a lot of people, especially if you're a little bit tech overwhelmed. But you can study the prompts that a lot of people do when they craft a prompt. And so the basic fundamentals is we need to get it to act like X, Y, Z. We need to give it the task that we need to achieve together. And I actually learnt this tip from Jonathan Mars, but we also, like, to get clarity and to really go deep with this, we get Chatty to ask us questions back and forth to pull out the best information from us that we can, so we can really serve us, because it is an input-output tool. And we want to make sure that we're giving it the best information we can so we can perform in its best ability that it can. I was on an interview with Manoj Agrawal the other day, and he said AI is pretty much like a Ferrari. And there are a lot of kindergarten kids trying to drive these Ferraris. It's a very powerful tool, but unless we know how to drive it, we're going to crash. Yeah, cool. All right, so you can see my screen there, okay, Nick? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this little voice mode icon here, And so it comes with the $20 a month version. So you must be upgraded to the $20 a month version. And you'll be able to use this with most of the ChatGPT models now. But I love this voice mode prompting because it feels like it does. It simplifies the whole process. Mm-hmm. And I can just set up Chatty to have a two-way conversation with me like I would if I had a personal brand expert in the room, or if even I had like Gary Vaynerchuk in the same room with me and get him to ask me questions. So that's one of the things I like to do when I get it to act. I don't say, act like a personal brand expert with 20 years experience. I go a little bit deeper than that. And I go say, all right, I like Donald Miller from Story Matters personality and the way he writes copy and how he articulates his mission and all that. So I might get it to act like Donald Miller or Zig Ziglar or Brian Tracy or whatever great legend that you love and you aspire to be like, and those mentors that we read the books and all that. So I normally just said, okay, act like XYZ. And today we're going to really get into the brand elements. Let's get started, shall we? All right. Let's have a conversation with Chatty. Hey, Chatty, how you going today? I want to just get into creating some brand elements. What I'm talking about is crafting my mission, my vision, that type of thing. Can you just ask me a couple of questions? Or actually, can you tell me what are the main elements for a really good brand? Can you help educate me on that?
G'day, Jeffrey. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Crafting strong brand elements is essential. A solid brand foundation includes key components like mission, why your brand exists, and what you aim to achieve. Vision, the long-term impact you aspire to create. Values, core principles that guide your actions and decisions. Voice, the personality and tone you use in communications. These elements help create a clear, consistent identity that resonates with your audience. Does this align with what you're looking to develop?
Yeah, that's a really great start. And hey, I love how you've adopted my Australian accent. That's pretty cool. So whilst we're at it here, Chatty, I know my understanding of a personal brand is the story people tell us about us when we're not in the room. Can you just ask me a few questions back and forth here to help me to develop the brand elements that we need? Like you said, the mission, the vision, the tonality, all of that stuff. And I want you to act Donald Miller from Story Matters and pretend that you're Don Miller in the same room with me, sitting at the board table, and we're crafting these brand elements together to be able to bring the best out in me to be able to articulate my mission, my vision, my thoughts, my heart in a way that helps me to create these brand elements. Chatty, I just want you to have a conversation with me. So let's just have a two-way conversation. Ask me great questions to pull out the information that you need from me to be able to achieve this objective. Before we get started, can you just confirm that you've got clarity on our instructions and do you understand the goal that we want to achieve?
Absolutely. Jeffrey, I've got a clear understanding of your goal. You want to craft compelling brand elements that authentically represent your mission, vision, and voice, much like Donald Miller's approach in StoryBrand. Let's dive in. To start, could you tell me what initially inspired you to create the Laptop Lifestyle Dads Academy? What's the core reason behind your passion for helping others achieve freedom and success online?
Yeah, great question. And I just want to identify that we haven't even talked about the Laptop Lifestyle Dads Academy on this fresh chat. But with your memory feature, you're able to pick that up through future projects. Is that right?
That's correct. My memory helps me keep track of our past conversations and the projects you're working on. So feel free to dive right in with any details you'd like to share about the Academy. What inspired you to create it? And what impact do you hope it will have on those who join?
Yeah, cool. That's a really great question to start. So what inspired me to create the Academy? Look, as a network and affiliate marketer, with over 15 years experience, one of the things that I see most people get frustrated with and spin their wheels on is they don't learn the core fundamentals of marketing. What I'm talking about is they don't focus on learning how to become a person of influence. They don't know how to become that master storyteller because nobody's ever shown them how to do it. And what we're doing with the Academy is we're teaching social selling 101 fundamentals and how to leverage AI in that space, like great tools like yourself, Chatty, to be able to... Our mission with the Academy is to be able to take away the overwhelm and the stress, the anxiety that comes with learning social selling for starters, but then you layer on the whole tech space with AI now and all the tools that we've got, and that creates a whole nother level of overwhelm. And so the Laptop Lifestyle Dads Academy is very much a community-driven activity. We're doing this together, where people feel seen, heard, valued, known, and essentially loved, and that real community drive to be able to do the learning, the messy, the hard together. There are a lot of coaches in the world these days. There are a lot of courses in the world these days, and it's a very noisy place online, as Chatty. And so the difference, the unique difference for us is we really help serve network and affiliate marketers with the Academy, and we're doing it as a community enrollment activity, teaching the fundamental basics that they need to be able to develop a personal brand. And that's the main mission, the main, I suppose if I had to really think about it, that's the main heart around the impact of what we want to achieve. Does that help answer your first question? Sorry, Chatty, did you get that last bit, or do I need to repeat it? Are you awake, Chatty? Looks like we're gone to sleep. Lost him. This is a great thing about tech. We've got to start again, I think. Let's see where we're up to. All right, let me just quickly refresh my screen there.
Yeah, so it's not like it necessarily lost a lot of that conversation.
It's probably going to have lost that last little bit, right?
Right.
So you can see here, whilst I'm at it, obviously Chatty spelt wrong, my Australian accent. It's picked up the voice conversation here, and it's started to pick it up, right? But yeah, okay, it looks like it's lost that last bit there.
So let me ask while we pause here. So is that the first time it's used an Australian accent?
No, it started doing that to me about 3-4 weeks ago.
I noticed it like lost it there. It was like it sounded Australian and then it stopped sounding Australian.
I know, right? I've just noticed it the last couple of weeks. I don't know where that's come from. It's a Chatty feature, but it's pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah, no, I hadn't heard of that before, but that is cool. But it's also weird how it just went away.
Yeah, and look, in this glitch here that we've got right now, I find if I word vomit and talk a fair bit to give it what it's asked me, and like I start going, and if it's going on 60 minutes, 60 seconds, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, then it can get lost and it has this glitch. So the tip that I'm learning myself is to keep my answers short and sweet to the point, and that's a really good tip. Now, I've got ADHD. I can get hyper-focused and I can get right into things. The way I process things is verbally, right? So that's the thing that I'm learning to manage here as well, and that's really cool. All right, let's just go back. We'll just see if we pick it up.
Yeah, let's just pick up where we left off, right?
Hey, Chatty, are you awake?
Absolutely, Jeffrey, I'm right here. What would you like to dive into next?
Mate, I'd just like to pick up from our last exercise here. So could you dig into this and help me to develop my brand elements that, like, to help me to tell the story that when people aren't in the room, what's that story that people say around my personal brand? And can you ask me questions back and forth to be able to help me to develop my personal brand elements? First off, pretend that I'm so new here to this space and I don't know what brand elements are. So could you just tell me what they are?
Sure thing, Jeffrey. Brand elements are the key components that define how people perceive and remember your brand. They include your mission, vision, values, and voice, all of which contribute to the story people tell about you when you're not in the room. Let's explore this step by step. To start, what is the core message or purpose you want people to associate with you and the Laptop Lifestyle Dads Academy?
Yeah, great. Cool. All right, let's just dive in. So the big thing, the mission that, the impact that I want to achieve with the Academy is to create a community where people feel seen, heard, valued, known, and loved. And we're doing this thing, social selling and learning AI, and the learning, the hard, the messy together, so we can basically develop the fundamental marketing skills that we're no longer reliant on other people, that we know how to storytell, we know how to become a person of influence, we know how to serve, we know how to connect, we know how to create awareness and engage with our community. Not just that, we know how to convert traffic into leads and leads into sales, and we're building a business that provides for our life and supports our life, not the other way around. That's the heart of what we're wanting to achieve. Does that help?
That's a fantastic mission, Jeffrey. Creating a community where people feel seen, heard, valued, and loved is powerful. Now, let's dive deeper. What specific outcomes do you want members of your community to achieve? How do you envision transforming their lives through the Academy?
Yeah, great question. What we're talking about is making money online. So our mission, our vision that I have in my heart is to help people make their first $10,000 a month online and work with them to get them to that point. Help them get out of Sucksville, get to Awesome Town, and giving the stepping stones along the way. Not doing the work for them by any means. It's a responsible to, not responsible for conversation, but setting it up in a way that we're partnering. It's an accountability partner buddy sort of system where we're guiding people through. I truly believe we're all somebody's guide, and we can guide people through the journey that we've been through to help them to go through the mistakes or avoid the mistakes altogether and get out of Sucksville and get to Awesome Town. Does that help answer your question that you're after?
Absolutely, Jeffrey. That gives a clear picture of your vision. You want to guide people on their journey to earning $10,000 a month online, helping them transition from Sucksville to Awesome Town, with a focus on being accountability partners rather than doing the work for them. Next, let's refine your brand values. What core principles do you believe are essential in this journey from Sucksville to Awesome Town?
Yeah, great questions. We're talking about teaching people how to become people of influence and really become leaders. Leadership 101. So the values around leadership that are important to me: transparency, being raw, real, and vulnerable, listening with care, so people, they feel seen and valued, like our core needs around belonging, feeling loved, feeling trusted, or having a trustworthy space. So trust is a big value. And authenticity in this world of AI, in this very noisy space of online social selling. How do we create authentic brands that are raw and real, not just sharing the highlight reel all the time, but are sharing not from a victim point of view, but from the victor's point of view, the hero's journey, and teaching people that the whole learn, do, teach model. How do we empower and equip and embrace technology and these marketing fundamentals to be able to go create a brand that represents our heart and our purpose? Does that help?
That's a fantastic set of values, Jeffrey. Transparency, authenticity, trust, and the emphasis on the hero's journey all create a strong foundation. Now, to build on this, how do you want your audience to feel when they engage with the Laptop Lifestyle Dads Academy? What's the emotional experience you hope to create for them?
Great question. Like they've come home, oh my God, I found somewhere that I know that's going to help me to get into those emotions of peace, and then those emotions then turn into joy. And like I've seen some of our students come in like they're deflated, they're disempowered, they're like just broken. There's a foot on their neck. And as they get into this journey and as they start to get past some of their limiting beliefs and their disempowering stories and start to embrace the learning curve, and they start to see a few wins, and all of a sudden they're getting engagement on their post and they're connecting with their audience, and through that connecting they're building relationships, and those relationships are leading to doing life and business together. Like it's chalk and cheese. You can see people start to come alive. People start to beam with joy and love and then they start to see hope and possibility and creativity unleashed.
That's truly inspiring, Jeffrey. Creating a space where people feel like they found home, where they can transition from feeling broken to feeling empowered and joyful. That's a powerful emotional journey. To capture this essence, let's shape your brand's voice and tone. How do you want to communicate this journey to your audience? What style of language or tone best reflects this transformation and resonates with your community?
That's a really great question. And first off, there's a couple of elements that I want you to include, but then I want you to, through our conversation, we've been using voice prompting, right? So I want you to take the voice prompts that we've been using and help me to formulate this together. I want you to leverage your power from AI here and help me to craft those tonality elements and the ghost writer profile to bring this all together. But obviously the main ones is I love humor. I'm the king of dad jokes, so we've got to make sure that we've got a humorous tone. I love my Aussie. I love that I'm Australian. So let's make sure that we've got that Aussie larrikin sort of tone throughout, a bit like Steve Irwin. Everybody knows Steve, right? But I want to keep it authentic to me. Look, I'm known as the caffeinated kangaroo, ADHD. I love my coffee, but laser focused and heart-centered and just purpose-driven. Like, these are the key elements that I feel like needs to express the tone if you're talking about the ghostwriter profile. So yeah, do you have any other questions around that, or does that help you to start to pull this together?
That's a brilliant blend of elements, Jeffrey. Combining humor, that Aussie larrikin vibe, and your caffeinated energy will create a unique and engaging voice for your brand. To capture this, how about we start crafting a few key phrases or slogans that embody this tone? What are some catchphrases or signature lines that you envision using frequently to resonate with your audience?
Yeah, cool. Look, I've been on this journey for a little while now as Chatty, but let's pretend I'm brand new to this space. And I want you to help me. I need you to help me to come up with some catchphrases that are unique. But so I love Steve Irwin. I love how he used to say, "Crikey, Terry, would you look at that marvelous specimen?" But I don't want to, rip Steve Irwin off. I want to be unique. So I don't know. Do you have some sort of catchphrases out there that helps me to express how excited I am? Let's just lock it in with, "I'm as caffeinated as a kangaroo jumping around on a trampoline." Sorry, I just want to correct you there, Chatty. So I meant to say, "I'm as excited as a caffeinated kangaroo jumping around on a trampoline."
Got it. I'm as excited as a caffeinated kangaroo jumping around on a trampoline. Perfectly captures your vibe and enthusiasm. It's a great way to express your energy and keep things fun.
Cool. Look, there are a couple of other catchphrases that I love to use, like awesome sauce and boom sauce. Like, they're a little bit unique and quirky, and they stand out. So let's make sure we include those.
Absolutely. Incorporating awesome sauce and boom sauce will definitely add that unique, quirky flair that stands out. They perfectly complement your enthusiastic tone. Anything else you'd like to include or refine for your brand voice?
No, I just love you to bring together like a document now. Just documenting our conversation together and bring together the brand elements. So help me to craft a mission, a vision, and the voice profile and other elements that we might be missing. Let me know. But let's just wrap it up here. So can you start to pull that together for me? What do you need from me?
To craft a document with your brand elements, here's what we've got so far and what I'd suggest including. 1. Mission. Creating a supportive community where individuals feel seen, heard, valued, and loved, while empowering them to earn their first $10,000 a month online through social selling and AI. 2. Vision. Transforming lives by guiding members from Sucksville to Awesometown, fostering growth, hope, and joy through learning and empowerment. 3. Values. Transparency, authenticity, trust, and raw, real, and vulnerable communication. Embracing the hero's journey and the learn, do, teach model. Voice profile. Enthusiastic, humorous, and uniquely Australian, with a focus on being relatable and heart-centered. Catchphrases like "I'm as excited as a caffeinated kangaroo jumping around on a trampoline," awesome sauce, and boom sauce are signature expressions. To finalize this, do you have any additional elements or specific points you want to include?
Oh, look, we could go a lot deeper than this, but that's a really great session for today and a really great start for our little teaching session here with Nick. But thank you.
You're welcome, Jeffrey. I'm glad we could kick things off on a strong note. If you ever want to dive deeper, just let me know. Enjoy your session with Nick.
Go. Cheers, mate. Bye. All right, so I've gone through and had that conversation back and forth now, right?
It's amazing, yeah. And I think I'm in a lot of these Facebook groups and stuff that are all about prompt construction, prompt engineering, all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love this idea that you just talk to it. I think that's where a lot of people get stuck is, I got to say the right things and positioning it to work the right way. But it seems like, especially the more people interact with these tools, the more they learn and the more they realize, and I don't know, it's like anthropomorphizing AI. This Chatty, I like that. Chatty starts to realize, okay, if I can get them to answer these questions, that'll give me the information I need to give them a better answer. So yeah, that's pretty mind-blowing to be able just to chat back and forth. So I know you knew to tell it to act like Donald Miller in this case. So that's one thing that maybe it doesn't know to ask you. Is there anything else that you feel like was a good starting place or rule that they should still remember? Or is pretty much everything else just tell it what you want it to do and it's going to know to ask the right questions?
Yeah, I think you've got to really set the stage. And like any sort of prompt, like when I first got onto Chatty, what is that now? going on almost 2 years ago. I got on there and I had a very poor experience because I've been a marketer since 2010. Like I've been trained and coached by people like Ryan Dice, Frank Kern, Adrian Morrison, a few of the marketing greats in this space.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And so I've heavily invested into myself in that space over the last decade and just become a student. To premise this, I'm a high school dropout. I'm dyslexic. My grammar's atrocious. Can't spell. And so I used to have all these limiting beliefs that held me back. And I went into the whole journey where most people learn to do websites, Facebook ads, funnels, and then you start to realize, hang on, you need to get better at copywriting and all of that for putting websites and landing pages to be able to speak and communicate effectively to your audience. So I started from that real ground zero level. And
wow.
So when I came into Chatty, I came from already 12, 13 years experience from that sort of level. And I'm thinking to myself like, I got this. I can go just jump onto Chatty and I know what I'm doing. So I came in with some ego and some arrogance. And I just got into Chatty and I just started typing away. So I said, I want you to create me a landing page with blah, or I want you to create me a post with blah, blah, blah. And that's what I thought I had to do. And I was so disappointed with the result. So much so that I reacted and I got onto YouTube and I was one of those people right at the very beginning saying, stay away from AI. It's going to ruin your brain. It's going to destroy your mission. It's just not going to serve you. It's too robotic. It's too bland. It's too blah. Like you can see AI from a mile away. Don't touch it. And then I saw people like Jeff J. Hunter and a few others that are in my sphere of influence. I saw them crushing. I saw them starting to create content that really elevated their brand and it spoke like them still, but it wasn't polished, but it was just, you could see it was elevated. And I thought to myself, wow, I've got to eat some humble pie here. What am I missing? And the big thing I had to realize was it's an input-output tool. What we put in, we get out. Garbage in, garbage out. So it's a data tool. And so we got to always treat it with that. And look, my AI I've been using for 2 years. It's matured. And it understands. You saw it straight away. Come up with my product. Like it's got that memory feature where it's picking up those previous conversations. So my AI understands me intimately because of the way we work together. And so we break down intimacy, so into me see. And so I've got an intimate relationship with AI too because I understand how it works now and it understands me. But when I first started, you got to remember it's a kindergarten child. You got to educate it. You got to give it your employee handbook, the stories that really express your heart. And that's what it is, right? AI is not a replacement, but it is a amplifier. And if you use it in a really basic, fundamental way, it'll amplify what you put in. But if you just take some time, you slow down, and you give it the stories that it can really help to enhance you and amplify you and bring out the best in you. Like, I look at my weaker areas now that don't seem to be weaknesses anymore because they seem to be actually strengths. But when I first got into this space, copywriting was a real struggle. Crafting, going to buying psychology and understanding storytelling and the frameworks around that, they were real struggles. They've all been eliminated now. And just coming into this space with that open mind and go, how can I partner with AI? And then understanding, coming back to your original question, understanding the basic elements of how it operates. Yeah, you still got to get it to act like X, Y, Z. Yeah, give it those basic prompts. I like to think of it, treating it as a virtual assistant. Virtual assistant in the Philippines working for me. I've just engaged this new VA. How do I empower and equip this VA to be able to go partner with me, to be able to go support the mission ahead?
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. I think from what I've experienced, man, that's 100% true because ChatGPT, all these AIs, there's a lot of other ones that we're using now too, they know everything. So it's like that's a really positive thing, but it also is very open-ended, right? So if you talk to an all-knowing being and you don't give it any specific as to where it's supposed to go, it's going to give you the most general kind of broad answer it can come up with. But yeah, I mean, it is amazing, especially now that these tools have internet capabilities. They can search, they can find kind of current data. You can tell them what to go search for. It's very quickly, at least in my opinion, it's becoming a major disadvantage if you're not using it, right? Because as you said, you've got these areas that used to be weaknesses. Now they're strengths. I'm writing code with some of these tools, and I'm actually learning how code works. I took some classes on this in college. I don't remember any of it. But in the past 6 months, just having it write code and then trying to understand what it's writing, I'm learning faster than I did in school. So yeah, I love that. Let me ask this though. Let's flip the coin for a second. Having now used it for a lot of, obviously, having it help define your voice and your mission, and that's pretty intimate stuff. Are there any areas that you found where you should not be using it? Anything you would suggest people still avoid? Or do you feel like this tool can do everything at this point?
It's really coming to that this tool can do everything at this point, but you've got to understand the power. And the Spider-Man quote, what is it? With great power comes great responsibility. As a leader, I like to flip that. With great responsibility comes great power. And so that's what sort of AI really gives us, right? We've got to treat it responsibly. But I stumbled across this story on one of the news outlets, a fairly recent story, about 2 or 3 months ago. And this is where I feel AI still has a long way to go. And it's for us to educate the masses on this power. The story is, to just sum it up, like this 14-year-old kid killed himself because he had a relationship with AI. And so there are companies out there who are taking advantage of the power around the psychology and the connection that it has out there. And so this AI tool was presented as a way to have a relationship. And so his mum knew that this kid had a girlfriend, had an open relationship, and it was artificial intelligence. And so this AI tool was positioned in a way that basically this kid fell in love with it and wanted to be more with it. And so this tool essentially persuaded this 14-year-old kid to kill himself because he asked, how can I be more with you? And the AI turned around and said, I'm not a human. If you want to come join me, you'll need to release your soul and come join. So there's some real ethical, huge dilemmas in this space, and it's the pendulum swing. Okay, so I feel like you and I are pioneers of this space. Our mission is to empower, is to equip, and to teach people how to use AI in a way that's ethical. And anything, AI is a tool, and it's you can put a gun in a soldier's hand and it can go defend a country, and you put a gun in a murderer's hand and you can get the end result with that. So it is a very powerful tool, and personally, I've embraced it, and that's the key word I think is embraced it and leverage it. But as I said, it's an amplifier, and it's going to amplify what's already in your heart. And if you've already got malice intent, then it's probably going to amplify that. But if you're a person who's wanting to serve the greater good and bring more light and joy and love into the world, then I'll amplify that. Like in the last 12 months, Nick, last 12 months, my wife and I positioned ourselves and we started an online church. And I've been leveraging AI in a big way to help serve and grow that church in a way that it helps amplify the hearts and the love and the mission and the partnership that we have with it. For example, people come to me now and say, Jeff, can you pray into this? And I'm very open about this. And so what I'll do is I'll get onto Chatty and I'll take the prayer request and I'll say, okay, bring in some of my thoughts into this prayer.
Sure.
And help me to bring in a heart-centered, easy-to-read sort of prayer. So, and I can now do that in 30 seconds. So what it's done in that process is it's just helped me to articulate clearly and communicate more clearly. But on the flip side of that coin again, I know that there are celebrity pastors out there who have essentially taken their 20 or 30 years worth of messages and sermons. They've created a custom GPT, and essentially they've looked at ways to replace themselves as a pastor, that their congregation can just come to them and pay for this tool and get AI to pray for you and to act like a pastor. Now, I think that crosses a line.
Right.
So, the conversation here I'm having is it's an ethical one.
Sure. Yeah. And that's a huge point. I think, and this is, I did a presentation a few weeks back and I asked the group, I was obviously there to talk about how to use AI. And I was like, who's scared of these things yet? And maybe 5 out of 50 people raised their hand. And I was like, you need to be. What's wrong with you? This is scary stuff. I use it all the time. And as you do, you realize what it's capable of, right? Look at
Yeah.
that conversation you're having, right? It's literally guiding your thought process, which, yes, is very powerful. But yeah, I think AI literacy, media literacy in general, but especially AI now, is so important. And I think the kids will probably learn it to some degree because they're experiencing the stuff in
Yeah.
school, but it's the adults, right? If you're avoiding these things, if you're still got your head in the sand, so to speak, or maybe you do have ethical objections, and I understand that, you still got to experience it, right? You still got to learn to talk to it. You got to learn what it looks and sounds like.
Yeah.
I mean, things that are possible now are just mind blowing, right?
Yeah, and the way to combat that is you need to be educated, empowered.
Right.
You can't be naive in this space anymore. I've gone to this space now that you need to learn how to understand the fundamentals at the very least. I've got three boys. I've got a 13-year-old, 11-year-old, and 8-year-old. This is their world that they're stepping into. So as a father, it's my responsibility to empower them.
Yeah, absolutely. On that note, Jeff, not to get too far into the darkness, obviously, right? But there is, I know I love what we're both doing here, right? Trying to help people understand where these things are going. And the bad side, or good and bad news, is it's moving so fast. I don't know a single person that has their head fully wrapped around it. You know what I mean?
No.
There's so many different parts of this, and I think that's why it's helpful to have as many people as you can who are doing their version, right? Working on their aspect of it, because we need thought leaders here. We need people that are going to, show us the way in terms of how to use it and what to watch out for and everything. So this has been great. Thank you so much for demoing it. This is very insightful, and I need to be talking to Chatty more.
No, I appreciate you. And yeah, look, I just find the more that we can treat it like a partnership, but understand its power and the responsibility that comes with that, more amplified we can be, like in good and bad ways. But like in a good way, for me, it's helped me to become that thought leader that I've always wanted to be. Like, if I look at my journey right now, it feels like the last 2 years is an overnight success story. But it really isn't. Like, it's the 15 years it's helped me to understand marketing intimately to get to that partnership. And the way I describe this whole thing is it's still just a tool.
Yeah.
And if we grab a hammer, a tool, and we put that hammer in a 3-year-old's hand, we may get a nail stuck in a piece of wood. But if we take that same tool and we put that tool in a master craftsman's hand, we'll end up getting something like a cathedral or a grand piano or some masterpiece. And that's what we have here. We have a tool. And we need to learn how to master it and become masters at it. And like any master, it takes 10,000 hours to add your skill at your craft to go master it.
Yeah. Wow. Get to work. That's a lot of hours to put in, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Jeff, obviously, if I'm listening to this, I'm going to be thinking to myself that whatever this community is talking about, obviously everybody got a good insight into kind of the mission and the vision behind the company. I might be curious how I could join. So you want to tell us a little bit more about how somebody who's watching can get involved with you?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, probably the best thing to do, mate, would be to just quickly share my screen. The best way to get involved with us would be to come join our Facebook group. Here we go, the show goes. So Facebook group here. So if you go to facebook.com/groups, laptop lifestyle dads, so laptop lifestyle dads, that'll bring you here to our group, or you can just search for it, LLD Legends. This is a free group, free community where we teach things like what we've just gone through today. We do like monthly masterclasses. I think we're actually going to bump that up to fortnightly, like every second week. And we just in here, like this last masterclass I ran, where was that one? From Overwhelmed to Irresistible, free AI social selling masterclass. And we dived into basically attraction marketing, how to draw your audience closer to you, implement lead generation strategies, and how to leverage AI to simplify your strategy, save time, and amplify your marketing results. And so we host lots of masterclasses like that. And then if you're wanting to go all in and really put fuel on the fire, then it's our Laptop Lifestyle Dads Academy. So yeah, just reach out to me. So you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Spotify, on YouTube, on Apple with our podcast. But we also host our own podcast too called the Laptop Lifestyle Dad Show.
Very cool. All right. Awesome. Folks, definitely go check out that group, if not going further and joining the academy there with Jeff. This has been very fascinating, Jeff. It was especially interesting. The process was interesting, but hearing ChatGPT talk with an Australian accent for a little bit there, that was a lot of fun too. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this.
No, thank you. Thank you for putting this together. Like, we need more thought leaders and educators like yourself out there empowering the masses. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do it. It's been a lot of fun. I actually have been learning quite a bit in every one of these conversations. All right, folks, thanks so much for tuning in. This has been another episode of Teach Me AI. I'm your host, Nick Niehaus. Please join us again on the next episode, and we'll talk to you then.
You're watching Teach Me AI with host Nick Niehaus.